Welcome to 18th Century Cooking. I'm John Townsend, and today we've got a special guest, Dan Woolwack of Coal Cracker Bushcraft, and we're out here in the woods and we're cooking. This episode, we're going to be cooking a deer heart. Thanks for joining us today. In this episode, we're going to be cooking a venison heart. Why are we using venison? Why are we using a heart?
So venison would have been something that the frontiersmen would have been able to hunt, and we're using heart meat because while at camp, if we ran out of the good meat that we wanted, maybe the back straps and hindquarters, if we ate all of that and the weather became inclement or we were locked into a location that we couldn't move from and game just wasn't available for us to hunt at that time, or we had no luck while we were out there, we're still going to want to eat. So those organs are still a viable option, and it's food until we can get something a little bit better.
Right. There's some great stories in Nicholas Cresswell, some really interesting parts where they're hunting buffalo. They'll kill a buffalo, and then a day later, 2 days later, they're out of food again. They're moving, they're eating the best parts of the animal, and then they're probably leaving all the rest behind. But then later on, they're starving, and boy, they'll eat anything they can get, even if it's a deer heart. So that's what we're going to be cooking up today. We're using some of the simplest utensils today, along with simple provisions that we would have along with this. Obviously, we've got the deer heart. We've got a little bit of fat here. It's actually a little bit of suet from the animal. And the other common ration or provision that we would have along with this is cornmeal. So we got a little bit of cornmeal. That's about it. All we need is a frying pan, just a few little utensils. So let's get this cooking up. We've got some slices of heart here, nice and thin. This can cook up tough, so we want to make sure to slice it nice and thin. And we're just going to bread it in a little bit of cornmeal, pop it in the frying pan. I've already got the suet going. So heart does show up in regular 18th century cooking, but not quite like this. This is so simple. In 18th century recipe books, generally heart shows up. They talk about cooking the pluck of an animal, and the pluck is things like the heart, the lungs, and some other components. You might have chitterlings, other parts of the offal of an animal, but they called it the pluck, which I think is a nice term for it. And they would use those in things like haggises and other cooking methods like that, where you would sort of hash it up and boil it in an animal's stomach or even in a pudding bag. So there are several different recipes that use pluck, but it doesn't show up a lot in that regular kind of fancy cooking in the cookbooks. Well, our heart is off the fire. It looks like it's cooked through. It doesn't take very long with nice thin strips like that. So what do you think? Is this ready?
I think it looks good, but I think a little bit of nutmeg would set this off.
I just happen to have my my little pocket spice kit here. It's basically full of nutmeg. There's a little bit of salt and pepper in there too. But we can try just a little bit of nutmeg to just set these off. There you go. I can't wait to try this. I'm worried that's going to be way too tough. We're going to find out. Hey, I can taste that nutmeg.
Mm-hmm. It's actually really good. It's not too tough.
No, it's not tough at all.
The cornmeal and suet, I think, also give it a good taste. It
Yeah.
just, rather than just grilled meat. It tastes a little bit more different than grilled meat. So.
Right. Now, you could take these and, kind of brown them up. You could put these in a stew, in this circumstance. In fact, Nicholas Cresswell talks about times when he's got just a little bit of flour and he doesn't want to waste them making bread. He wants to use them in a soup to kind of thicken it up. He would do the same thing. Slice up the meat small, cook it a little bit, toss it in there, make a stew with water, a little bit of flour, kind of thicken it up. This, hey, it turned out really good for such a simple, quick way of cooking. Almost no ingredients whatsoever. We just need a little bit of frying pan, a couple little eating utensils that we would have with us anyway as tools when we're out here in the woods. So, wow, if you get a chance, try something simple like this. Hey, I want to thank Dan for joining us. If you're interested in bushcraft, in surviving in the woods, all that kind of stuff, make sure to check out his YouTube channel. And you've got a a school, right?
Yep, so we're located in Eastern Pennsylvania, the Appalachian Bushman School. It's on our website, which we'll link below.
Yeah, we'll put a link down in the description section to both the channel and his school. You'll love it. Make sure to check it out. And I want to thank you guys for coming along with us today as we savor the flavors and the aromas of the 18th century.